Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me today. I want to have a look at City Skylines, and I want to try and give some tips and advice to people who are just starting to play City Skylines. It's a really interesting and involving game. You can spend hours and hours and hours on it, and you can tune it to do what you want. What I want to say to you really is that there are a number of ways to play City Skylines. And the first, of course, is just simply starting the game as it comes out of the box, or as it comes as a download. And when you want to start a new game, you go into New Game, you select the area you want to go into, select an area which has got, for instance, a good number of resources, a good amount of water, and most connections. There are no ship connections on this particular one, but for a later game you will want ship connections to get you to the outside world. I'm going to go for this particular one for the time being because it's flat. I just want to show you a couple of things that will happen when you start the game. We'll start the game and I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, the new map has opened and we're now in the town, and as you can see we've got one square available to us, this area here, and there are others which you will be able to buy later on in the game, but they will actually show up around this area as purchasable zones. But for this moment in time we start off with one area. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is get some roads into the city. If I click on the roads tool down here, you can see we've got a two-lane road. We've also got nothing on medium roads, nothing on large roads, nothing on highways, and none of these are available either. An initial tip is to drop one of these two-lane roads in anywhere, just a couple of drops, and drop it in place. Okay, you can see now we've got another road, a two-lane one-way road available to us. We've also got a four-lane road available to us, some other large roads, and at the moment nothing on our highway. Now that's a shame because we actually want to use highway on this road here to put roads into our small city area. If we do that now, the only choice really is to put a two-lane one-way road in. We can't use any of the other roads because these are two-way, for two lanes one way, two lanes the other way in that particular case, and this one is 3 lanes one way, and this one is 6-lane one-way road. If you put that on here, the 6-lane one-way road, look what happens. We get an extremely wide road. It doesn't look very good. I don't like that at all, but that's what you will start off with in the early game. And you can drop another road coming in this way and join that one up. So we've actually got the initial stages, or the start. You won't get any of these roads till much later in the game when you've unlocked achievements. The other thing, of course, is that you'll start off with 3 zones: residential, commercial, and industrial, and these are all low density. And if you start looking at the other facilities, nothing else is available yet until we get further on into the game. So when you start off, you will have a chunk of money down here. We've used some of it to build our roads, and you'll see the weekly income turn red as it goes down and green as it goes up, and you'll see the number of citizens that come into the city. And at the moment it's asking us to put some residential zoning in. If I close that down for a moment, I want to show you another facility you've got over here, which is the chirper. He tells you what's going on and he keeps you informed about problems that are going on in the city. And you should keep an eye on those, because if you don't, it will make citizens unhappy. So at the moment you're working in micromanagement mode. You saw I clicked on that icon there. That gives me a choice of looks that I can apply, and I can put different ones on. Again, you can download these if you want to from the workshop. So that's the starting point. Not a lot to keep you going, unhappy citizens, and you've now got to get on with it, and you've got to start building your city, and you have to micromanage it. Choice number 2 is to use some of the assets and mods that are available from the Steam Workshop. I'm not going to talk too much about assets because that's really something you're going to want to think about as you play further into the game. Assets can be quite large individually, and it will take up a lot of space on your system and a lot of the memory on your system. And bear in mind that when you use mods and when you use assets, it will put pressure on whatever system you've got, and in many cases slow down the frame rate. If we look at Content Manager and we look at mods, you can see I've got a number of mods on the system. They're all turned off at the moment. They've been disabled. And the mod that I tend to use more often than not, because I actually want to get involved in building a city fairly quickly, is unlimited money. Now, you may think to yourselves, well, that's not really going to help me micromanage my city, but it depends whether you want to micromanage or whether you want to start building fairly rapidly. You can start building fairly rapidly and still have a challenging game just by having a small number of mods. And I think unlimited money gets you started very quickly, and also means you haven't got to worry about the cost of building tracks and putting resources down, putting roads down and things like this. I'm not going to look at any of the others at the moment in any depth, but I would say that most of the others on here enhance playability. They don't make the game easier, they just make it better in terms of playing the game, because some of the tools allow you to place roads in a much better manner. They look better. You can actually see how high you're going to raise bridges, how deep you're going to lay tunnels or underground tracks. It actually tells you, giving you numbers and statistics, information. Another one which I find quite useful is to empty buildings such as waste disposal sites and cemeteries. It means you don't have to do it yourself. It will do it automatically, and it's part of the game. Normally you would go in and you would make it empty, but this actually does the job for you. You still have to have facilities that can be available to be emptied into, so it means you're still having to play the game in that respect. So I'm going to turn that one on, and I understand that, and we're going to put that one in. I'm also going to look down here at remove the need for pipes and remove the need for power lines. When you play your city, you're going to have to put water pipes in, you're going to have to put power lines in. These two tools simply mean you have to place a power station or power source and a couple of segments of power line, and the same for water. You've got to put in a water pump and a sewage works, and again some pipe works from each of those, just for a couple of segments, and then thereafter the city will take water and power without you having to put any more lines down. You may have to put more resources in, such as more power stations at a later stage and more pumping works, either pumping water in or pumping sewage out. So that one I'm going to turn on as well, and I'm going to put this need for power lines. And looking at some of the others, the first person camera is quite nice. It actually shows you the city from the individual's perspective. It doesn't change the nature of the game, it just lets you have a different view, and I can't see anything wrong with that as a starting mod. And improved public transport, I'll come to that one a bit later, and I'm going to also put Move It in, because Move It allows you to move nodes and segments to make them look better. If you put a line down or a track down, it's not got a very nice curve. You can actually move the curve and you can move the node, and things look much better. Again, it doesn't affect the challenge in the game. It just makes your life a bit easier. And the other one I want to put on is the loading screen mod. That particular mod loads games much faster than normal, and typically you'll find that with all the assets and all of the mods that you put into your game, it will slow loading down. Some of my games can take 10 minutes to load, but with the loading screen mod, that can come down to less than 2 minutes. So I really suggest you put that one in fairly on. And the other one is automatic bulldoze. You're going to have to bulldoze empty buildings at some point, and ones that are burned down by fire. This particular tool simply allows bulldozing to take place automatically. Again, it doesn't affect the challenge of the game, it just makes life a little bit easier. So those are my favourite mods in this particular level of the game, which is what I call intermediate. And I'll start the game and we'll see what happens now when the game starts up. And I'm going to go to new game and I'm going to go down to rivers and I'm going to open that one up. And in a second we'll see the loading screen mod, which is this one. It's showing me the amount of memory that's been taken up on my system. It's showing the loading time. It's showing the assets that are being loaded down here. And it's also showing some information down here about particularly what parts of the main core game are being loaded. So it's taken us nearly 30 seconds or more to get down to this point here, this blue bar. And any second now we'll come up with our map. And it's the same map we had before. And I'm just going to stop the simulation. And if we go down here, we can see there's nothing's really changed. There's nothing on here to show I've done anything apart from this first person camera. I'm not going to worry about that for the minute. Everything else down here is the same. No change there. That's as expected. So again, you'll just start off with all the resources that the vanilla game gives you, just with a few helpful new tools that as you get further into the game will help you. And as you can see down here, we've got the bank balance of infinity. That means you can spend as much as you like and it doesn't really affect the game at all. It just means that you can start building your city much quicker, but without the other mods you'll be still in the micromanagement mode. You'll still have to wait for the achievements to be found. You'll have to then wait until later in the game to get other roads available and other resources such as the fire stations, police departments, schools, etc., etc. So this is what I call the intermediate section. Okay, we'll leave that for the second and then we'll move on to the last section, which is what I call the ultimate game building section. In the third section, we're going to look at Content Manager again and the mods, and in this case I'm going to enable all mods, and these eventually will all highlight once they're enabled. It does take some time. I'm going to turn hard mode off. I don't play hard mode, what would make the game more difficult. And I'm going to turn unlimited oil and ore off and unlimited soil off because those have actually been made redundant with some of the recent patches. Unlock all progression milestones are unlocked, all areas purchasable. I can find assets in my asset bar. This decal prop fix allows me to put larger assets in. It's not absolutely necessary unless you're going to use decal and Rico. Road Anarchy removes restrictions for all roads and railway tracks. Fine Road Anarchy allows me to make sharper angles and it makes precision engineering possible. Similarly with Fine Road Tool. More Beautification enables props to be placed in the game. Automatic emptying we've already covered. Surface Painter, you can paint large areas rather than actually just doing very small areas with a brush. Prop Line Tool means you can create curves with trees and fences and other props. Ploppable Rico allows you to put Rico buildings on the system. Proprietary Anarchy lets you put props and trees wherever you like, and that allows you to put certain props onto roads. Normally you can't put things onto existing roads or onto buildings, but that's an interesting mod and I suggest you use that one. Rush Hour allows AI to make citizens and tourists act more realistically. Precision engineering, again, is another tool that allows you to get much better looking roads and tracks. Prop snapping lets you put, I suppose, props onto buildings and roads and that works in conjunction with the earlier mod that I mentioned. Asset icons, sometimes if you download assets, the icons don't appear on your system, and this actually helps you create those icons on the system. Improved public transport basically gives a slightly better transportation screen for you to use. Network skins allows you to change the appearance of roads and train tracks and other networks with downloadable resources. Pedestrian crossings allows you to put pedestrian crossings across the street. Sometimes if you haven't got a junction, which is where pedestrian crossings normally are, you can go quite a distance without any crossings for pedestrians to get over from one side of the road to the other. And sometimes if you've got bus stops in place or even tram stops, it's useful to have the pedestrian crossing, which you can put anywhere on the road. Move things, basically, I covered that one earlier, and I suggest you put that one in fairly on. Key anarchy, it's not vital, but you can start using keys anywhere on your map with the canals. Transport line rendering fix allows you to see various parts of the system which normally would be invisible to you, and the others I've already spoken to you about earlier. So I've now enabled those. They're all on, except for the hard mode and the other ones I mentioned to you. So I'll start a new game again. We'll go and do exactly as we did before. We'll go down to 2 rivers because we're used to that map now. And I'm going to make it left-hand traffic because I'm in the UK. And I'll start that map and we'll see what happens now. See how long it takes to load. We should get the loading screen mod come up any second. And the loading screen mod, as I mentioned to you, should make the map load a bit quicker. 1.89 gigabytes, 1.9 going up now. I've got more mods enabled, so obviously it will take up more space. It will take up more of my memory. If you're playing with the recommended system memory, the vanilla scheme or vanilla product should work okay, but you find that when you start adding mods and assets, you're going to have more RAM installed. We're up to 41 seconds, 42 now going up. All the assets up here show they've been loaded. They reckon they'll be done 57.1 seconds. We're up to 53 down here. There we're up now the maps. Now this is what would happen during the normal game. Each of these would come up one after the other as you get to certain levels. You make certain achievements. Now down here you can see that all of these icons down here are now illuminated. We've still got the infinity balance, but now you can see we've got all the roads available and we can use those immediately. We've got all of the zonings available, high density and low density. We've also got electricity, shows us all of the power station facilities are available to us. And with water, similarly, we can now put our incineration plant in, our landfill sites and recycling centre. We've got our health facilities, we've got our fire department, police department, all of the educational facilities, and all of our transportation capability, providing, of course, you've got the DLCs for all of these. You won't get trams unless you have snowfall, and obviously you're going to need the mass transit DLC for things like the cable car and monorail, and also for the ferries which come in here. So there's a ferry depot there. So if we now just close that down for a second and ignore what they're telling us over here, we can see we've got the road anarchy up here. There's some other tools which when you download from the workshop you need to look at the instructions, but once you've downloaded you'll become aware of them. And if you come over here, and as I said to you earlier, one of the issues is with the initial road that we put in. So if we come to roads and then we come to the highway and go to our 6-lane highway over here, if I drop that in place, that's now exactly what we need. That's exactly the road we require. And you can see with the latest patch, it's now given us the optimum joining point for the road. So if we drag that down there, we've now got parallel road, which is really handy. And as I mentioned to you earlier, the other issue, of course, is to get water into the city fairly quickly. And with the no pipes tool, we can do that in a normal way, where we would pick up the pumping station, drop a pumping station, and all we need to do now is bring out a short segment of pipe work, which you can drop there. And I have to disclose to you, I'm actually using another asset, which is the sewage cleaner, which produces no pollution. So I can put that there without worrying about poisoning my citizens. Bring out that link there, and I'm going to join those two together. That will now feed the city. Now need to get power into place, and because I've got the massive nuclear power plant, I'll need to put that near to a road. I haven't got a road yet, but when I put that down, wherever I'm going to put it, that will serve these once I put the power station in place. So let's pick a road, drop a road down there. That's fine. Go back to our power station, pick the power station up, drop the power station there, and that will now start providing power to both of those, even though there are no cables going across to them. That's running over there, no problem. Let me just close that down for a second. And in a second or two, we'll see that, that they're getting power, but they're moaning about, as you can see from this symbol, there's no heating. So what we need to do, go to our water, sewage and heating, go to the copper pipe, pick up a boiler station, put that next to the power station. That will get power from the power station, and we need to put a heating pipe in place, and we need to join that to the current system, which is there. And if we now close that down, we can see they're all powered up and no one's worrying about heating. So no pipes, no power lines. I suggest you have those in place, and I suggest you get hold of this no pollution sewage asset as well. So having covered the three choices, I hope you're now better informed about the mode which you want to play in. Just to recap, you've got the vanilla micromanagement mode, where you have to build your city at a slow pace, and resources will come online as and when you reach certain achievements, which mainly is increasing the size of your town and city. The second mode is to put some fairly low-level mods in place, which will make your life a bit easier. It doesn't change the challenge too much, but it does stop you worrying about certain issues, such as emptying facilities such as crematoria and garbage disposal sites. It also helps you bulldoze where necessary. So again, I don't think they affect playability, and it still maintains the challenge, but it does make your life a little bit easier. And the third mode is to put in as many mods as you feel useful and helpful to you that make your life easier, but still allow you to play the game you want to play. My favourite mode is to go for the third mode. I like to build my cities pretty quickly, not having to worry about micromanaging the population, not worrying about tax levels and that sort of thing. But it's up to you. So hopefully these tips will help you in making your decision about how to play. Have a really good time, and don't forget, please, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my other videos, which you may find interesting and also helpful, and will also give you tips and hints about how to play City Skylines with some DLCs that I'm also using. So thanks again, and goodbye for now.